So the army barrack was about a mile away from the camp. They called the army up. They set up the machine guns up. So when the people went to protest, they start firing, and they all started to run, and then 11 people got shot, and 2 of them died. In fact, one of the guys, I was there that night, and we went as a Boy Scout group and to protest, and I was a life scout during my high school or junior high school days, but even then we went to protest, and then we were running away from it. The guy running next to me, he got a bullet in his back, but his bullet was right next to his spine. They couldn't operate on it, but he carried that. He never died or anything, but he used to be bothered during cold weather and stuff. But other than that, he was okay. But
and the protest was because they were selling on the black market the food that was intended for
administration people were getting all that food that was coming into the camp for the people. They would take certain things and they would selling it outside.
Wow.
So these are the kind of stuff that we encountered. When I first went there, I was a mail order delivery boy. We were getting $8, $12, $16, and $19 a month pay scale. $8 were the people that were making camouflage nets. And just an ordinary blue collar worker, like I was delivering parcel posts, I was getting $12 a month. And then after half a year, I got another job because they found out that I was an electrical engineering major. So they said, can you use a motion picture printer? Oh yes, I used to run them all the time, 16 millimeter. So he said, can you run? I said, sure. So they gave me a job, and I got $16 a month, which means $4 more a month. And then doctors were getting paid $19. And after half a year, I got appendix. And
appendicitis?
Appendicitis, but they only had they didn't have any hospital, and they had a mess hall that was converted into like a hospital. So that was one of the early ones to get operated on, and I got operated from a Japanese doctor, and he was only getting $19 a month operated on me. And I have all the records here. My son got when the government released the records, we had to buy that, but my son bought it, and I got it here with me if you want to see that. All my temperature, everything is recorded on this. In fact, what the medicine they gave me, it's all listed in there. And I was operated on the mess hall table.
How long were you in the camp?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. So you entered when you were 18.
18. I was 21 when I got out of there. I came here on a VJ day. I reached Jersey here. The only reason why I came here was to visit my folks. They got out before I did. They wouldn't release me.
Do you remember when you found out that the United States had dropped the atomic bomb?
Well, to me, it just like anybody else. I didn't have any but I thought that it stopped the war quick. I said that was one good thing, but at that time I didn't even know what atomic bomb would do to people. Because, in other words, we know it was deadly. Only thing is, how bad of a result would you have from the atomic bomb radiation problem? I mean, those kind of stuff never entered my mind. Mm-hmm. But to me, it just seemed as though at that time it said, well, at least it stopped the war. Yeah. If
you would have maintained your A1 status, and the government would have asked you to fight,
oh yeah, I would go.
Would you have fought?
Oh, first thing when we come here, I had to Newark do the physical. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I went there, my eyesight, I have bad eyesight, so I had to go back there. Second time, I have to come over back to Bristol again and get a notification from my eye prescription, and I have to go back and get my second physical, and I became 4F this time. 4F is physically, handicapped with the eyes. So they didn't want me in the service.
But if you had to fight, you would have done so.
In fact, you heard the 442nd in Hunter?
Yeah,
okay.
The 442nd was a Japanese regiment, highly decorated.
They didn't want them to be integrated into the Caucasian unit. They wanted to be segregated to prove to the world that we're loyal, in fact, more loyal than anybody else.
And they fought in Europe.
Europe and Asia.
Were awarded many Purple Hearts.
And they're the most highly decorated outfit in whole United States history. And
so we're talking about what became of some of the people and their children who were in the camps, and from what I understand, they went on to be very successful, many of them.
Well, out of this 120,000, 130,000 Japanese American that was here in the United States, you could put that in the football field. Okay? Out of that, how many famous guys come out of there? You have so many of them that you could count so many of them. You can take Mineta. He was Secretary of Transportation in 9/11. Okay? He was 13 at Heart Mountain at the time when the war started, 13 years old. Now, he was Secretary of Transportation, but he was Secretary of Commerce before that. And then when Bush was in there, he was Secretary of Transportation. At 9/11, when the airplane hit that tower, he stopped all aircraft from flying. That was Mineta. He was only 13 in the camp. Okay? You remember O.J. Simpson's trial? That guy, judge on that, Lancito?
Yeah.
Okay. His mother was in Heart Mountain also. And he married, and the son is Judge Ito. Now, there's another one of the guys that was in the camp, out of this few 130,000 people that was there. A guy from UCLA, 3 months older than I am. He came to Manzanar, same camp I went to. After 9 months in the camp, he was sponsored by the Quakers. The Quakers sponsored this kid that's going to college, and he went to Missouri, got his bachelor's degree. In Minnesota, he got his master's, and Harvard, he got his doctorate degree on radar. He was an electrical engineer specialized in radar, but he was a mathematician. So the government said, can you make a plane that cannot be hit by any aircraft? So he's the one that designed the U-2 bomber.
Wow.
And after that, the government, a few years later, said, can you design an airplane that cannot be detected by radar? So he developed a stealth bomber.
You had told me a story before about a World War I veteran
Yeah,
and how he was treated. Share with me a little bit about how you felt when you saw how this veteran who had fought, he was Japanese American who had fought in World War I.
He was on my dad's boat, in fact.
And he was an American citizen?
American citizen. That fish picture, the big fish picture, those two beside my dad, they're all American citizens. And they're young guys, they're all fishing. There was a crew of 18 on that boat there. And when they came up, when they put into San Diego, these new recruits, young recruits, come up with a bayonet, keep poking the guys to go into jail. So he said, I fought in the First World War. He said, you don't push me around. But then they get a difference. They still got thrown in the camp. Of course, they were released right away. But when he came to Manzanar, he was pegged as agitator because he was helping the first generation people. They couldn't understand what was going on. So since he knows everything about what's going on, he was trying to explain to them. So the government pegged him as the Black Dragon. And he was one of the ones to be pegged as an agitator. And then that sort of turned him off more because of the fact that here he's trying to help and then he's getting pegged as an agitator. So when the questionnaire came, I guess he must have answered no on both of them. I'm not going to help you out anyway. And then he got sent to Tule Lake where the Tule Lake was. But after Tule Lake, I don't know whether he went to Japan and exchanged a person or what. I mean, I don't know whatever happened to him. But I read in the book later on that he was exonerated from being pictured as but other book that I read, he said they finally found out that he was doing good for the people. So it's according to how you take it and which way you look at it. But he was on my dad's boat the last trip.
But the irony of here you have a man who had risked his life to save our country in World War I, and then in World War II,
he's placed around. So that's the reason why he's
a concentration camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrible. When were you released from the camp?
Camp. I got here on VJ Day, but that's a long story on that too. But I don't know whether that's worth talking about or not. There was a guy that had a Oldsmobile that he had stored. Now I had a brand new Chevrolet. I stored mine for half a year when I went into camp, because I figured, man, it's a brand new car. I'm not going to. I'll keep it when I come out. $845 I paid for at that time, the whole price. And the government wanted to give me $300. And I said, no, I'm not going to sell it for $300. So I kept paying for the storage. Well, I mean, you're making $19 a month or $16 a month. You can't afford to be paying storage. So I said, finally I sold it for $300 to the government. But this guy kept his Oldsmobile. He had a 36 O's. So 6 of us we got paid $25 to spending money, and we had a ticket from Salt Lake to Philadelphia. So we come out, and between Ely and Tonopah, we broke down. And we have to have ration at the time. To buy gasoline, we have to have ration. Everything was ration. Sugar was ration, everything was ration. So we were coming out. We had 2 water bags hanging in there was no air conditioning in those days. We had 2 water bags hanging in front of the radiator. So we knew what was wrong with it. We could hear the banging noise first. So we took the pan down, took the bearing, one of the bearings was bad, so we took the bearing out, took the piston out, put it back together, used one of the bags, put water in, and we saved the other water, we put the other water in. We saved 1 bag, and we started riding. And man, it was a little rough first, but then as you hit 40, 50 miles an hour, man, smooth right out. So we must have gone 35 miles, and all of a sudden she went bang, and finally quit, and it blew the cap oil, overhead valve, the cap on there. That cap blew right up on top of the hood, and it finally stopped. Well, what we did wrong, after we changed, took the piston out, we forgot to take the ignition wire off.
Oh, the spark plug wire.
The spark plug wire.
Okay.
So what had happened in there, as the gas is going into your pan,
it's not
ignited.
It's not combusting, so you got a buildup of gasoline
so
that finally just blew up the whole
and that was it.
engine. And that was that.
3 days. 3 days in the desert. We almost ran out of food, and we had no place to go. And since the gas is rationed, and that stretch is about 8,500 miles, and nothing there, a gas station or anything. They tell me we were 35 miles from this gas station when the guy finally stopped. And he was going to Manzanar delivering food, big semi-trailer. He said, I'll tell the people that you guys are stranded out there. That was on the 3rd day. 3 of us had to sleep underneath the car, 3 up on the top of the car or inside the car. And when your turn came to sleep on the outside, you got coyotes howling not too far away from you.
So for 3 days you slept in the desert.
Yeah.
And then finally, who came to rescue you?
The gas station guy came, and then he towed the car up to his garage. And then the guy that owned the car stayed there, but then we took a taxi and went to Salt Lake, and from Salt Lake, and when I got here, now I don't know how many days I spent on the road there, but when I got here, it was exactly on a VJ day.
Now, what brought you to Philadelphia? I mean, of all places, you were...
My folks were here first.
How did they get here?
Well, they came here because they said there was work here, So, as long as there was work, it was no better than in camp, but there was no wire around this place. There was no fence around there, So you were free. You were free to go. Your pay was lousy. Yeah, I never worked here, so I can't tell you, how it was. Because as soon as I got your visit, I went to town and I got a job right away.
So Seabrook Farms here in southern New Jersey was one of the companies that was very much interested in reintegrating.
No, they weren't interested in integrating. They needed a helper.
They needed labor.
Labor, because they had a contract with the government. There was frozen food. They developed this fast freezing frozen. They were all going into the army for Army and the Navy for the supply for the servicemen.
So the government being one of the largest customers of Seabrook, and Seabrook then leading a very large labor
because
force.
they couldn't keep, they don't get enough
They
people.
couldn't get enough local people, so
Right.
then they used.
From here.
They were given jobs.
Yeah, so they were getting it from Jamaica. They were getting from our people. Came over here, and then when the people from Europe start coming, they start bringing the Estonians and the displaced person from them to come over here. They were using prisoner of war from Germany who was working here. So it was all integrated. It's almost like St. Peter, where I was born. It was all Italians, all different ethnic people living together. So
your parents came here to work, and then you came here because your parents were here
yeah,
to visit.
I came to visit. Yeah, I came to visit them, and then I stayed with them for a while.
Did you like the area? Did you like it here?
Well, you don't. In other words, you don't have prejudice at all out this way. They didn't know any different than anybody else, I guess. But only time when I came across once is when I first went to work for Joe Deal. The first day I went there, a lady came in, and she wouldn't talk to me. And I couldn't understand why she didn't talk to me, because she was looking at me, but she didn't say a word. I pulled the radio out of the car, and I says, I'll have this call you. What is your phone number? She still doesn't answer me. I said, what is wrong with this lady? So I'm not talking to you. Go get your boss. So I went and got Joe Deal to come over. And I asked Joe, I said, what's the matter with her? She says, no, she don't like, no, I'm sorry. So she said, she has something up with her. She didn't, I guess, tell her exactly why she didn't want to talk to me. So when the radio was finished, she came back again, and I started talking to her. I says, it's so much for the radio, and I put it back in. And I started talking to her, and I says, why is that you don't want to talk to me? He said, I lost my husband in the war, and you're Japanese. I said, well, how do you know I'm a Japanese? I said, do I look like a Japanese? Oh, you people, you're all in Seabrook. I said, well, how do you know? You just take it for granted that I'm a Japanese. I said, I could be a Korean, I could be Chinese. I said, but you're just taking it for granted I'm a Japanese. That's why you're prejudiced against me. And I said, yeah, I'm Japanese, but I can understand why you're so. When I finished talking to her, something was still wrong with the radio. It wasn't working right, so I had to take it out again. And she came back again, and this time she was a completely different person, So I asked her, I said, well, at least you're talking to me now. He said, yeah. She said, I'm sorry that I acted that way, because he said, I just took it for granted that you were one of the Japanese. And I said, even though you're Japanese, I guess you understood what I was trying to tell her, in that sense that just because I look like somebody else, that you're blaming me for it, just like in the start of the war the same way. Your heart's...
Sure. Do you often think about how your life would have been different if the Japanese did not attack Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, I thought about it many times, but I just take it for granted that this is the way it's supposed to happen, and I got two terrific kids, so I have no complaints right now. But at the time, I said, boy, if I went to college, because I always wanted to work on instruments, but today the theory is different, but I was fascinated with meters and stuff. So I was going for electrical engineering, and I was always thinking about developing different type of instrument for measuring things. And I would think that, well, I would probably pursue my electrical engineering, but my kids, they're both doing well. Both of my kids went to Johns Hopkins.
Mr. Arnold, where did you meet your wife?
I met her here when I came to visit, and she came here to visit about a year later. That's when I met her. And then we got married in 1950.
And where did you live? Did you live in what town?
Bridgeton. I've been in the same house for 65 years now.
Same house, 65 years.
And my daughter was born there. My son was born here in Seabrook.
Mr. Ono, you've experienced and lived through things that most of us could just only imagine. What message, what is it that you want the younger generation to learn from what you've experienced?
Oh, I don't know. The way you like somebody to treat you, That's the way I would like him to treat me that way. You know.
Do you have any resentment at all against the government for what they did?
Oh yeah, I have all kind of resentment, but I just hold it to myself on that one.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do? This is what they say. Shikataganai means it can't be helped.
Say that again.
Shikataganai.
That's
That's a
Japanese.
Japanese term.
Means
That's
it cannot
why.
be helped.
That's the way this first generation. That's the reason why I never said we never said anything about this kind of stuff until 70 years later, because we didn't have time to be thinking about that kind of stuff. I was going to college, but I have to sacrifice my college time, and to send my younger kids, my brothers and sisters, to school, you know. And so you have to live.
Well, Mr. Ono, I definitely want to thank you for your time in doing this interview.